What's up guys, I'm Firefly, and I'm bringing you guys a tutorial, and this tutorial is going to be on After Effects, and I'm just going to show you guys the very strict basics of After Effects, because I know a lot of you that have just recently purchased After Effects, when you transition from like iMovie, Final Cut Pro, or Sony Vegas, you open the interface like I did when I first purchased this, and then you're completely lost because the interface is much more complex than we're used to. I know when I opened After Effects for this first time, I didn't even know how to import my clips, let alone add color correction. So the purpose of this tutorial is just to inform you guys on the very basics of After Effects, and all of what I'm going to be explaining is going to be related to editing. So by the end of this tutorial, you guys should be able to edit a clip or two very easily. So when you first open After Effects, you'll see this message here, and this is the welcome message. You'll get this every time you open After Effects, unless you uncheck this box right here. And see, I'm on tip of the day 72, and it always gives you a tip. So tip of the day 72 means I've opened After Effects 72 times. So right here are your recent projects. I have a couple projects here, but when you open it for the first time, you'll have nothing. So if you can click New Composition. Everything in After Effects is related to compositions, and compositions, if you worked with Sony Vegas, is just basically where it's your workspace, and it's where you drag your clips, your music, everything goes in a composition, and then you can pre-render compositions and then put them together in one bigger composition and then render the whole thing as a montage. But I tend to usually work in one composition only. So go ahead and click New Composition. Now you'll get this dialog box. You can name your composition, so I'm just going to call this tutorial, and you can set your preset. Generally you want to go you tend to want to go either 1080p. 1080p will end up rendering in 1080p, but between 1080p and 720p there's no difference when watching on a computer monitor. But if you're watching on a 1080p television, you'll see that there's twice as much pixels, so the quality is two times better. So I tend to go 1080p because it doesn't hurt. It just ends up increasing your render time, but that doesn't really matter. You can set the frames per second. Go ahead and set that for 59.94. But for this tutorial's sake, I'm just going to keep it at 29.97, because when you preview your clips and your editing, it'll take twice as long. So all of this doesn't really matter. You can just set your duration. Right now it's set to 5 minutes. So go ahead and... So now this pops up. And this right here is your timeline. And this is where you'll be doing all of your work. Right here is the preview window. Okay? So if you wanna import your clips, which is the first thing you want to do, hit all of the commands I'm going to be giving for this tutorial are Apple commands, because I am working on a Mac. I'm not familiar with all the Windows commands, but I'll try to inform you guys when I do know them. So if you want to import your clips, on Mac it's Apple I, or on Windows it's probably Control I. So this brings up import file. So I'm going to go ahead. This is just my downloads, but you can import your footage, so let me just find some footage. Let's see. One second, let me just close my window. Okay. Here. I'll just import this combat training footage. Now it shows up right here, okay? Now this is your composition name. My composition, if you remember, I named it tutorial, so this is the comp right here. And then this is your footage. So to bring your footage into your composition, just click and drag, and then poof. Then you see this. This is your footage, okay? So now we see it on the preview screen. And And okay, so that's our footage. Now we have to import a song, so we'll do Apple I as well, and then I'll just let's see. Let me just here. Okay. So same thing. We drag it into the comp, and then okay. Now to see the waveform, because when you're syncing, if you're used to Sony Vegas, when you're syncing, you look for the you look in the waveform where you have those high beats. Well, by default, when you drag in an MP3 or whatever song into your composition, you don't see that. So to see the waveform, double tap L, and there's your waveform. Okay, so our waveform is there, and if we hit Shift L, that'll also bring up the audio levels. So now we can just click and drag to the left to bring the sound down a bit. Okay, now if we want to do a fade-in, fade-ins on After Effects are completely controllable. So there's no like presets for like for transitions. You have to do them all manually. So when you this is called a I don't know how to call it. It's like it's just like a characteristic of the footage you drag in, but this one's called audio levels. So if we want to set a keyframe, we just click the stopwatch. Now that if you're familiar with Sony Vegas and pan and crop, you know a lot about keyframes and stuff like that. So if we set a keyframe here and we change this value to -48 decibels, now we see no waveform. But if we go a bit further in the song, and then we set this to -6. Now we see that there's a transition from -48 decibels to -6 decibels, and now we have a waveform. So that's basically how you do transitions in After Effects. Okay, now for our game footage. If we want to fade in our footage, it's easy. Well, first we need to bring up the opacity, which is basically transparentness of the footage. So tap T, that brings up your opacity. Click on the stopwatch, set this to 0%. Now, set this to 100% later on in time, and now we have a fade-in. See? There we go. Okay. So now, we have a fade-in here. And now let's go find a clip. Let's just find the first shot. Or the first kill. Well. Oh yeah, here's a tomahawk. Okay, so now to find the audio wave of the clip, we can also double tap L, and then that brings up the waveform for our footage as well. So now we see all of the high points. So we just to scroll through frame by frame on Apple, it's Command right arrow or left arrow, depending on which way you're going. But on PC, it's probably Control left or right arrow. I'm just not sure. Okay, so that's where, if we look at our waveform, that's about where the hit marker appears for the tomahawk. So to preview that sound, all we have to do is, on Mac, it's Control and then period, and then we hear the sound, and then it just previews the sound. So I'm a bit off. There we go. That's exactly where it shows up. So now, what we can do is to split the clip where our cursor is right now, where this timeline cursor is. We do Command Shift D, and then that splits it there. So now I don't care about the waveform here. I just care about this one. Okay? So now, we know that the sound appears right there. So now we have to find, just like in Sony Vegas or whatever program you're using, we have to find a place where the song matches. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so let me just increase the volume a bit. Wait. So let me just set this in like -3. There we go. Okay, so right here. Okay, so now to snap to your cursor, you just hold Shift and then drag your footage, and then it just locks next to your cursor. And then you can do this with keyframes too, not just footage. So now what we can do is we can just drag the end forward to shorten the clip, and then drag this over so it matches up. There we go. And I think we lost our fade in. Yep. Okay. So let me just recreate the fade in. This is 100%, and then we'll just make this 0%. So now we have fade in. Goes through here. Lag. I switched to my ballistic knife, and I tomahawk this guy. Okay. So now you're probably asking yourself, well, wait, I want to do slow motion after a shot. Well, that's easy. So now what we do is, again, Apple commands. To set our slow motion, we do Command or Apple button, Option T. This enables time remap. And time remap I found to be the most smooth slow motion available in After Effects. If you want to play around with some other ones, you can go to this effect button up here, go to time, and then there are a couple right here. Time warp, there are a few here. So if you don't want to play around with this time remap that I have set here, you can go ahead and check those out. But time remap is very simple for syncing. So now what we can do is we have to, if we want the frames to blend, meaning we don't want it to be like one frame and then another one, kind of like a slideshow. If you're really spanning out the time in slow motion, if you want it to be smooth between frames, you want to enable frame blending. So what you do is you see these two film strips right here. Well, the checkbox underneath them. Click once. That's only for preview, and click twice. That'll appear in rendering now. Now you have to set it for the whole comp, so click this. Enables frame blending for the whole comp. Now in time remap, let's say we want the slow motion to happen like, let's say 4 frames after our sounds. We go 1, 2, 3, 4. So when the 100 is starting to sync back, we'll add a keyframe. That adds a keyframe in that point in time. Now what we can do is we can set another keyframe where we want our slow motion to stop. So let's say like right here. Now what we do is we go to the point in time where we want our slow motion to stop, and then like right here, and then we drag the second keyframe we made over, holding Shift. So now that last keyframe that we set is now moved to that point in time. So if we scroll, you can see that it's slow motion. But you see this mess up right here? That's because there's too much motion on the screen, and the frame blending ends up distorting all the images, and it doesn't look good. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to keep it that way. But if you're actually editing a montage, you want to be careful for that. There's no way right now that I know that solves that, but try playing around with the amount of time that you stretch the clip and where you put your first and second keyframes. So after this keyframe, it'll go normal speed, but during this duration, it goes slow motion. Okay? So now we have slow motion covered. Let me just create a simple transition out. Okay? So now, to create a simple transition out, we're gonna go ahead and make a linear wipe, which if you've used Sony Vegas, you really know what that is. So go over here to the right hand side and you'll see you just expand this. You'll see character, effects, and presets. If this is arranged differently, then you'll find effects and presets somewhere on the side, but I just rearranged all my windows. So go to effects and presets, and then all your effects and all the presets you save will be saved in here. So now you want to go down the list. You want to go to transition, and in transition you'll see something called linear wipe. Go ahead, linear wipe, and drag it anywhere on top of the clip. Now this is where you control all of your effects settings, everything for this layer. Okay, so now again, for transitions and such, we have to do it by keyframe. So press U to bring up all your effects keyframes. See, U brings up every single keyframe we have. So now, oops, sorry about that. Okay, so now we see the angle. So if you want it left to right, set this to -90. If you want it right to left, set it to the opposite. So now, if we're at the beginning of our, we want to fade out, right? Yeah. So okay. So click the stopwatch to set a keyframe. Let me just see, now we have our linear wipe transition completion keyframe right here. Set it to 100%. Now go where you want your transition to complete. I did this backwards, didn't I? Yeah. Set a keyframe there. This should be 0% for a fade out. So now there's a little fade out. And as usual, we can set feather, which feathers the edge of our transition. And I'm actually going to switch this the other way. I forgot that we were doing a fade out and not a fade in. So now we have a simple transition out. It's a bit cheesy, but oh well. Simple. The point of this tutorial is basics. If you guys want more tutorials, more advanced stuff, I can surely do that, because I'm not going to teach you everything I know about After Effects, because that's going to consume a lot of time, and already this tutorial is very long. So, now that we have our transition, what we can do is we can cut the clip where our cursor is. So to do that, hold Option and period. Sorry, I forgot the command. Oh, there we go. Option, and the button that's underneath the plus and equal sign and above the enter sign is the closed curly bracket and closed square bracket button. If you hold Option and that'll trim the clip to wherever your cursor on the timeline is. So now it ends right here, our clip. Okay? So now, the last and final piece of editing a clip is color correction. And color correction in After Effects is really easy. Go to Layer, New Layer, Adjustment Layer. Now in Adjustment Layer, any effects you apply to an adjustment layer affect all of the layers below it. So now, if you want to add color correction, if you want to add the same color correction to all of your clips, just add an adjustment layer above them. You don't have to add the same settings for all of your split clips. So now, an adjustment layer is basically transparent. It doesn't affect anything except if you put effects to it. So if we go to where our tomahawk is, we can go Layer, Effect, Color Correction, and then I tend to use curves a lot. Curves is really simple to use. Just click and drag a point. We'll drag this point up and then this point down. This creates a contrast, as you can see. And then if we want to see what it looks like without the effect, just click this effects button. And then that just, see, that's without color correction, and this is with color correction. Now what we can do is we can go to the blue channel, pump up the blues a bit, and we can go color correction, CC toner, and then that'll add a bit of a tint to it. You can do a lot of things with this. As you can see, there's a ton of color correction options. So you can just play around with all those settings that you want, but I'm good with this color correction. It's nice and simple and looks good. Don't go overboard with your color correction presets, because too much is overkill. So a little goes a long way. So use those settings wisely. Now we have a nice color correction. And then I'm going to show you guys two more components before I leave you off to editing whatever you guys want. So if you want to add text to your, so let's say like right as the shot goes, and then we enter the slow motion here. We want to say, we want to have some text that says tomahawk or something. Adding text is really easy in After Effects. Just go up here, and then you'll see a big capital T here. Click it. And now click anywhere on the screen. This creates a new text layer, and you can type whatever you want here. Okay? But in our example, we wanted to type, I failed at typing that, tomahawk. Okay? So now here's our text. And then if you click outside of the highlighted portion, you'll see that your cursor changes to an arrow with a cross arrows here. Now this allows you to move it anywhere you want. So I'm just going to put it like right here in the bushes. Okay? Now when you highlight it, you can go over here. And remember where we went to the effects and presets? Well, the character tab allows us to change our text and what it looks like. So here's a list of all your fonts. I'm just going to keep it to the font I have right now. This is the style of your font. Usually you'll have like bold, italic, underline, something like that. And then this is the color of your font. So if I wanted to change my font to red, I could. Or I could change it to yellow. I think I'm going to go ahead and stick with yellow because that contrasts the bushes very nicely. So now, you can also set an outline. If you switch, okay, if you click this enables the stroke. And the stroke is basically just the outline of the text. So if I set it to black and then I go here and I drag this to the left, I have to highlight it first. Don't forget to highlight your text when you're changing all these options. So now you can see that our text has a black outline now. So I think I'm going to keep it black. And then here you can say stroke over fill or fill over stroke. It all depends. Depends on how big your stroke is. Okay. So now this affects, if you highlight it again, the height of your text, the width of your text, but I'm just going to keep it like this. Okay. Now this is bold text, italic text, all caps. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. Well, that's adding text, okay? Now if you want to change, you can either change the position like this, or you can go on your text layer, click P, and then you can set the position here. See, X and Y coordinates. But if we want it to only appear there, we just do Option, open curly bracket, and open square bracket, and then that trims it to there. So now our text appears there. Okay. So now I wanted to fade out right here. Okay. And then poof. The opacity is set to fade, and we have a fade out text. I know this kind of corny, doesn't really look good, but this is just basics again. Okay, the last thing I want to show you guys is previewing your clip. So if our clip starts, like, let's say I wanted to preview this section. What you can do is you can go to, I know the shortcut, but I want to show you guys where it is in the menus. Okay, go to Composition, Preview, RAM Preview. As you see, I know the shortcut is Option 0, which is what I usually do, but you know. Okay. So now this will use some of your RAM on your computer, so it is advised you have a computer that has a lot of RAM. and then now you'll be able, see, now it's going through all the frames and saving them. See, the green bar that you see right here that keeps inching forward is the RAM preview bar and what it has already previewed. So now it's going through all the frames starting from where my cursor was. And then depending on how much effects you have and stuff, it'll take a while to preview. It all depends. But this will preview the images and the music and any audio you have. So it's a good way to see if the clip you are just editing looks good in real time instead of looking at it from just by scrubbing through. So we'll just wait for this to preview out. Sorry if this tutorial has been very long. It's supposed to be able to cover all the basics so you can get started easily in After Effects. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had fun making this video. If you guys want more tutorials like this, please post it in the comments, because the only way I'm gonna know what you guys want is if you tell me. So either go to the moderator box on my channel and post some ideas and people can vote on them, or just leave a comment. I read every single comment you guys leave me. So go ahead and leave a comment if you want to see some other content, tutorials. I'm planning on uploading some Minecraft today. I have a Black Ops to preview. I'm sorry this is taking so long. This can be a big pain if you want to see what your clip looks like. So, oh, after this I have to show you guys one last thing, which is the most important part. I forgot every single frame. So what I was saying earlier is, if you set your composition to 59.94 frames per second, this would have taken twice as long because it goes through every frame of the preview. Yes, the slow motion looks better, but the preview is a pain. Worst case, you can just change your composition settings to that after you finish the whole montage and preview everything. Okay, pull out my tomahawk, and I tomahawk this guy in the face. I don't know, but it's nice to say in the face. Okay, there's the slow motion, there's our text. Okay, I think I'm just gonna preview this part after this frame generates, because this is taking way too long. Okay, now press spacebar to preview what it's generated so far. It'll take a bit. Now it'll keep looping through this green section until you press spacebar again. So right now my computer's freezing, but that's why it's suggested to have a good amount of RAM. I have 8 gigabytes of RAM, but sometimes there we go. Now the first time it passes through it, it'll be laggy like this. But you see up here, you can see that it's not real time. But the second time it passes through all of this, it'll be okay. Or at least it should be. It just has to regenerate everything, and my computer was lagging, so if you have a really good computer, then you shouldn't have a problem with this. And if you absolutely want this preview to go faster, you can change this down here. There's a drop-down menu that says the quality of your preview, and it's either full, medium, similar to Sony Vegas. Okay, that's pretty good. The sync is not perfect. Okay, that's enough. Okay, so the sync is not perfect, but you can just rearrange that. This is just a tutorial. So last thing I'm going to show you guys, if you want this section, you can just my computer will work with me right here. Okay, wow, this is being really stupid with me. I think it's because I'm recording too. So Okay, so this dragger right here is come on, computer. Wow. Okay, this is your rendered portion. So if you drag these in, now After Effects will only render what's inside of it. Okay, so now what we do is we go to composition, add to render queue, and then this adds the composition we're currently working on in the workspace that was defined by us just now into a render queue. And in the render queue we can set all our settings, and then we can export it. So what you do is you go click on lossless right here, and then I'll show you the settings I tend to use. Make sure you click audio output or it won't render the audio. You have to absolutely click this checkbox. I spent like 2 hours when I first got After Effects trying to figure out why my videos didn't have audio, and it's because you have to check the audio output box. So this is very important, guys. So check that. Now go to keep QuickTime, go to Format Options. Now, when we render this, it'll export, as you can see here, as a .mov, which is a QuickTime movie, and that's acceptable with YouTube. And these settings work with YouTube perfectly. So now go to video codec, which is how the movie is encrypted. Drop down box. Now do Sorensen Video 3 right here. Now for Windows, I understand there are different settings. One of those settings is you can export in WMV. I've heard that exporting in WMV works best on Windows, but for Mac, I've had a lot of trouble figuring out these settings. So do QuickTime and do Sorensen Video 3, and that should work perfectly with YouTube. Click OK, and then audio, you don't have to format anything. The default settings are perfectly fine. Click here, and then you can name your project with whatever you want. And then this is what it renders as. And you see this is my render folder. It's a good idea to have a render folder so you can have whatever you render all in the same folder, and it's easy to find when you upload to YouTube. So I'm not gonna, when you're done with everything, just click render and it'll start rendering. I'm not gonna do it because this is just a tutorial example. But I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you want more, as I said before, leave a comment below, like, and favorite, well, don't favorite this, but like the video if you liked it, and if you didn't like it, just tell me why, and subscribe.